The space station's Korean tea house was perfect in its simplicity. Real wood floors, paper walls, and a view of Earth through transparent aluminum windows. Ambassador Kythera sat across from President Lee Hyo-jin, watching the human perform the tea ceremony with practiced grace. It had been a week since the War Room revelations. A week of communications with the Valthari Empire, debates and decisions that would reshape the galaxy. Now finally it was time for conclusions. "Your empire has decided?" Lee asked, pouring tea with steady hands. "Yes," Kythera said. Her glow had stabilized to a soft pearl color, the Valthari sign of peace. "We will ally with Earth, though I think ally might be the wrong word." "Oh?" "Students," Kythera admitted. "We wish to be your students." Lee smiled, setting down the teapot. "We have much to learn from each other. The Valthari have maintained peace in your sector for millennia. That's no small achievement." "Peace through strength," Kythera said. "But your strength, it's different. You hide it. Use it only when necessary. My people struggle to understand this." "My grandmother had a saying," Lee replied, lifting her cup. "The strongest warrior is the one who chooses not to fight." We've had the power to conquer for decades. We chose to protect instead. Even your enemies. "We have no enemies," Captain Beijinwu said from the doorway. He entered quietly, bowing to both leaders. "Only threats to be managed." The Devourers were a threat. Soon they won't be. 2 months now, Kythera noted. The long-range sensors show them massing beyond Neptune. 12 million ships, as your generals predicted. 12.3 million, Jinwu corrected with a slight smile. They brought friends. Every devourer that got our message of fear. They think they're about to feast on a soft world. Through the window, Earth turned slowly. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. It looked peaceful, vulnerable. "The greatest lie in galactic history. Are you ready?" Kythera asked. "We've been ready for 50 years, Director Osumin said, entering with General Yoon. The old woman moved slowly, but her eyes were sharp. "The Void Song is primed. Every defensive system active. The trap is set, and after," Kythera pressed. "When the galaxy knows what you can do?" "That's why you're here," Lee said gently. "The Valthari will help others understand. Earth protects. We don't conquer, don't enslave, don't impose. We just guard." "The sleeping giant that woke up to stand watch," Kythera murmured, using a human phrase she'd learned. "Something like that." Lieutenant Kim Soo-jin appeared in the doorway, tablet in hand. "President Lee, the Mars station's report ready. The Jupiter defense grid is online. The asteroid fortresses are charged." She paused, smiling slightly. "And the moon bases would like to know if they can finally drop their camouflage." "Not yet," Lee decided. "Let's keep some secrets. We're revealing enough today." Over the next hours, leaders gathered, not just human and Valthari, but representatives from other species who had been quietly contacted. The Altarians, peaceful traders who had lost 30 worlds to devourers. The Kentak Republic, whose defense fleets had been shattered trying to protect evacuating civilians. Even the mysterious void dancers who rarely spoke to anyone. Sent an observer. They gathered in the station's observation deck, watching Earth below and the stars beyond. Waiting. "I have a question," Kythera said to Dr. Moon Jiwoo as they stood together. "Why did you really stay hidden so long? Your technology surpassed ours centuries ago." Jiwoo adjusted her glasses, thinking. "Fear at first. We saw how advanced civilizations treated primitive ones. Then caution. We needed to be sure we were ready. But finally," she smiled. "Patience. We knew the right moment would come, when we could reveal ourselves not as conquerors but as protectors. And that moment is now. The Devourers gave us the perfect opportunity," Dr. Ryu Min-jun said, joining them. His ever-present display showed countdown timers. "Everyone fears them. When we stop them, we become heroes, not threats." "Clever," Kythera admitted. "Human," Min-jun corrected with a grin. General Yoon's voice echoed through the station. "Long-range sensors detect Devourer fleet movement. They've passed Neptune. Estimated arrival, 14 hours. Begin final preparations," President Lee ordered. "All stations to ready status. Charge all weapons. Initialize the Void Song." Across Earth and its hidden defenses, humanity prepared. Weapons that had waited decades for this moment hummed to life. Ships that had hidden in folded space emerged. The moon bases, while keeping their camouflage, brought targeting systems online. "You know," Kythera said to Lee as they watched the preparations, My empire has protected many worlds. We've always done it with visible strength, showing our power so others wouldn't test it. And we've protected through hidden strength, Lee replied, removing threats before they could threaten others. Which is better? Both have their place. Perhaps together we can find a balance, visible enough to deter, hidden enough to surprise. The hours passed quickly. The Devourer fleet approached, a plague of metal and hunger racing toward Earth. On every human world, colony, and station, people who knew the truth watched and waited. The moment their ancestors had prepared for was finally here. Ambassador, President Lee said formally as the Devourers passed Mars. Would you like to send a message to your empire? Let them witness what happens here. Already done, Kythera replied. Every Valthari ship within sensor range is watching, as are the Altarians, the Kentak, and dozens of others. The galaxy will see. Good, Lee said softly. They should see that monsters can be stopped, that someone stands watch, that they're safe. Lieutenant Colonel Shin Yejun reported from the war room. Devourers entering optimal range. Voidsong ready. All weapons locked. Any communication from them? Lee asked. None. They never talk, only consume. Then there's nothing left to say. Lee turned to the assembled leaders, human and alien. Ladies, gentlemen, beings of all kinds, witness the end of the Devourer threat. She nodded to General Yoon. Execute. The void song began as a whisper in the quantum foam. A signal, carefully crafted over decades, designed to use the Devourer's own network against them. It spread from ship to ship, drone to drone, faster than light, faster than thought. On the display, 12 million ships suddenly stopped. They hung in space, frozen. As the song rewrote their fundamental nature, matter became energy. Energy became nothing. One by one, then in groups, then in vast waves, the Devourers simply ceased. No explosions. No drama, just existence, then non-existence. The greatest threat the galaxy had known, deleted like a typo in reality's code. In 10 minutes it was over. Where 12 million ships had threatened Earth, only empty space remained. Every Devourer everywhere was gone. The network that connected them had become the instrument of their destruction. The observation deck was silent. Even the humans who had known what would happen seemed awed by the completeness of it. It's done, Kythera whispered. Yes, President Lee agreed. The Devourers are finished. The galaxy is safe, and now? Lee smiled, turning to face the assembled leaders. Now we talk about the future. Trade agreements, technology exchanges, mutual defense pacts, the boring parts of civilization that mean no one needs to fear. You'll share your technology? The Altarian representative asked eagerly. Some of it, General Yoon said carefully. The defensive systems, medical advances, energy production. The weapons, he paused. Those we keep. Someone needs to hold the big stick just in case. And if others develop similar weapons? The Kentak Admiral challenged. Then we'll all be very polite to each other, Director O said with a dry smile. Mutual assured destruction has worked for Earth. Perhaps it will work for the galaxy. Over the following days, agreements were made. The Valthari Empire would help introduce Earth to galactic civilization properly. Trade routes would open, knowledge would flow, and always, quietly, Earth would watch for new threats. We've given you quite a burden, Kythera told President Lee on her last day at the station. Protector of the galaxy, guardian against monsters. It's not an easy role. No, Lee agreed. But it's necessary, and we've been preparing for it longer than anyone knows. Those other projects your scientists mentioned, the weapons you haven't revealed. Should we be worried? Lee was quiet for a moment, watching Earth turn below. There are things out there worse than Devourers, Ambassador. Things that eat reality itself. That come from dimensions where physics is different. We've encountered some. Dealt with them. Quietly. And you'll keep dealing with them? Someone has to. Better us, with our weapons and willingness, than peaceful civilizations who just want to live. Kythera's glow shifted to something like respect, mixed with gratitude. The galaxy is lucky Earth chose protection over conquest. We're all lucky, Lee corrected. Lucky we have each other now. The Valthari's wisdom and Earth strength. Together, we can keep the darkness at bay. As Kythera's ship departed, carrying news of the new alliance to every corner of civilized space, the humans returned to their work. The Devourers were gone, but other threats remained. Other monsters lurked in the dark between stars. But Earth was ready. had been ready for centuries. The galaxy had its guardian now, whether it fully understood that or not, and in hidden bases, secret laboratories and dimensional pockets that existed outside normal space, humanity continued to prepare. The orbital station New Horizon floated high above Earth, a metal flower blooming in the darkness of space. Inside its secure conference room, the real conversation was about to begin. No crowds here, no cameras, just truth. Ambassador Cathera sat across from Earth's real leadership, not just politicians, but the people who had guided humanity's hidden growth. Scientists, generals, engineers, and spies. They had names and titles, but more importantly, they had knowledge that would reshape galactic understanding. Dr. Moon Ji-woo adjusted her glasses and opened a file on the holographic display. She was small, quiet, the kind of person others forgot was in the room. That had served her well during 40 years of secret research. Ambassador, she began, her voice soft but clear. I think it's time we showed you the full picture. What you saw at the UN was, call it the public face of our defenses. The pretty version. There's more? Cathera's glow dimmed slightly, a sign of worry. Oh yes, Jiwoo said with a small smile. Much more. The display came alive with images, documents, videos. Star maps appeared, but not the ones the Valthari knew. These showed paths between stars that no alien ship had taken, marked with timestamps going back centuries. We've been watching, Jiwoo explained. Every civilization, every ship, every transmission. We deployed our first stealth probes in 1832. Yes, that's Earth calendar, about 200 years ago. Captain Park Sung-ho leaned forward. He was younger than the others, but carried himself with the weight of someone who had seen too much. We learned early that the galaxy was dangerous, so we decided to learn everything before anyone learned about us. The images showed human ships invisible against the black of space, following alien traders, probes attached to asteroids recording military exercises, satellites disguised as cosmic debris, intercepting communications. You've been spying on the entire galaxy? Cathera asked. Observing, Dr. Ryu Minjun corrected from his corner. He had been typing constantly since the meeting began, streams of data flowing across his personal displays. Spying implies hostile intent. We were simply curious. And careful, added Sung-ho. We saw what happened to peaceful civilizations that announced themselves too early. They became vassals, or worse. We decided Earth would be different. The display changed. Now it showed something that made Cathera stand abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Devourers, not attacking, not consuming worlds, but captured, held in massive containment fields, being studied by humans in white coats who showed no fear of the galaxy's greatest terror. Impossible, Cathera breathed. They cannot be captured. Their self-destruct mechanisms are actually quite simple, Minjun interrupted, finally looking up from his typing. Biological impulse triggers connected to distributed neural nodes. We isolated the signal, blocked it, and suddenly they became much more cooperative. Well, as cooperative as world-eating monsters can be. Jiwoo pulled up technical diagrams that hurt to look at, even through the hologram. Their biotechnology was fascinating. Organic systems that could adapt to any environment, consume any matter, convert it to energy with near-perfect efficiency. We learned so much from them. Learned? Kithra sat back down slowly. You studied them. For 50 years, Sung-ho confirmed. Ever since they attacked one of our deep space mining operations. They thought it was an easy target. Isolated, far from Earth, minimal defenses. They were wrong. New footage appeared. A mining station that looked helpless, broadcasting distress signals, devourer ships approaching, confident and hungry. Then the trap springing. Hidden weapons emerging from what looked like ore processors, ships dropping their disguises to reveal military vessels. The devourers, for the first time in their history, being the ones consumed. We kept 3 alive, Jiwoo said matter-of-factly. The rest we dissected. Their organic processing systems gave us ideas for new propulsion. Their adaptive armor inspired our current hull designs. Their hive-mind communication, she smiled. Well, let's just say our quantum networks owe them a debt. Cathera's translator struggled with the concepts being presented. You incorporated devourer technology into your own? Improved it, Minjun said with pride. They were efficient but not elegant. Their systems worked through brute force. We refined them, made them better. Our bioships are 300% more efficient than anything the Devourers created. Bioships? The display showed them. Human vessels that looked almost alive, their hulls rippling like muscle under skin. They moved through space as if swimming, bending reality around them in ways that made standard physics cry. A fusion of our technology and theirs, Sung Ho explained. Metal and flesh, circuits and neurons. They heal themselves, adapt to threats, learn from every encounter. The Devourers gave us the foundation. We built something better. Director Oh Soo-min had been silent until now, watching the Valthari's reactions. She was old. Older than anyone else in the room, with eyes that had seen Earth's transformation from the beginning. The question you're not asking, she said suddenly, is why we're telling you this now. Why reveal ourselves? Kithara turned to her, grateful for the direction. Yes, why now? Because the Devourers aren't coming here by accident, Soo-min said. They're being driven here, running from something. Can you guess what? The room fell silent. Kithara's glow shifted through several colors as she processed the implications. Finally, understanding dawned. You, she whispered. They're running from you. General Yoon Dong-hyun activated his own display. Star maps appeared, showing Devourer movements over the past decades. What looked like random attacks at first revealed a pattern when viewed correctly. The Devourers were being herded, pushed away from inhabited systems toward empty space. We've been testing our weapons, Dong-hyun said simply. The Devourers made perfect targets. Aggressive enough that no one mourns them. Numerous enough that losing some doesn't matter. Dangerous enough to provide real combat data. Extermination campaigns disguised as fleet exercises, Lieutenant Colonel Shin Ye-jun added. He looked tired, like someone who had overseen too many operations. We'd hit them hard, let survivors escape to spread fear, then do it again somewhere else. Classic psychological warfare. But they don't feel fear, Kithara protested. They're driven by hunger, not emotion. They didn't feel fear, Dr. Lim Dasam corrected from her station. She was the youngest person in the room but spoke with authority. We changed that. Biological weapons that rewrote their neural patterns. Viruses that taught them terror. After a few encounters with our fleets, they learned to run. The footage that followed was horrifying in its efficiency. Human fleets appearing from nowhere. Weapons that deleted matter from existence. Viruses that turned Devourers against each other. The galaxy's greatest predators reduced to prey, fleeing in panic from shadows that might hide human ships. You're monsters, Kithara said quietly. No, President Lee said, speaking for the first time since the meeting began. We're humans. We protect what's ours. The Devourers threatened that, so we removed the threat, permanently. And now they're coming here, Kithara said, understanding finally complete. To Earth because you've driven them here. This is a trap. The largest trap in galactic history, Dong-hyun confirmed. Every Devourer in this sector is being pushed toward Earth when they arrive, when they attack. He smiled coldly. We end them. All of them. In front of the entire galaxy. A demonstration, Soo-min added. Not of our full power. That would terrify everyone. Just enough to show that Earth doesn't need protection. Earth provides protection. Kithra looked around the room at these humans who had turned their world into a weapon, who had studied the galaxy's nightmares and found them wanting, who had prepared for centuries for this moment. What are you? She asked finally. We're what happens when you threaten our home, Lee answered. We're what evolution creates when survival requires not just strength but intelligence. We're your new allies, Ambassador. If you want us, the offer hung in the air. Alliance with Earth. Not as protectors and protected, but as equals. Or perhaps Kithara realized with a chill that had nothing to do with temperature. Alliance with Earth before they decided the Valthari were a threat too. I need to contact my empire, she said carefully. Of course. Lee smiled. Take your time. The Devourers won't arrive for 3 months. We have plenty of time to discuss the future. As Kithara left to make the most important communication of her life, the humans returned to their planning. They had revealed only a fraction of their true capabilities, shown only the weapons they were willing to let others know about. In the depths of space, in places no Valthari scanner could find, darker projects continued. Weapons that could crack stars, ships that existed in multiple dimensions, viruses that could rewrite the laws of physics. Earth was ready for the Devourers. The real question was whether the galaxy was ready for Earth. The war room beneath Cheyenne Mountain hadn't changed much in 200 years. Oh, the technology was different. Holographic displays instead of paper maps, quantum computers instead of radios. But the purpose remained the same. This was where Earth fought its real wars, the ones nobody knew about. Ambassador Cathera stood in the center, surrounded by humanity's military minds. She had spent 3 days communicating with the Velthari Empire. Their response had been swift. Help the humans, learn from them, and above all, don't make them angry. Now she was learning why her empire was afraid. General Yoon Dong-hyun controlled the main display. Stars filled the room, a 3-dimensional map of local space. Red dots marked devourer positions. Blue marked human fleets. The red was surrounded, compressed, herded like sheep. The operation began 60 years ago, Dong-hyun explained. Small at first. A destroyed scout here, a missing harvester there. The devourers didn't notice. They never do. They only understand hunger. Until we taught them fear, added Lieutenant Colonel Shin Ye-jun. He looked exhausted, and Cathara learned he had been running operations for the past week straight. Show her Kepler 442. The display zoomed to a single star system. Cathara recognized it. A dead system stripped bare by devourers centuries ago. Nothing there but rocks and regret. Or so everyone thought. This became our testing ground, Dong-hyun said. Far from inhabited worlds, already dead, nobody watching. Perfect for weapons development. The footage that played was from 50 years ago. A small devourer fleet, maybe 30 ships entering the system to scavenge what little remained. They moved confidently, safely. After all, who would ambush them in a dead system? Humans' ships appeared from nowhere, not decloaking. That technology was primitive by human standards. These ships stepped out of folded space, existing in one place and then another, without traveling the distance between. They surrounded the devourers instantly. First contact, Ye-jun said with dark humor. Our first real fight with them. We wanted to see if our weapons worked. They worked. Beams of twisted gravity tore devourer ships apart. Missiles that phased through shields detonated inside hulls. Viruses transmitted through communication channels rewrote biological imperatives. In 10 minutes, the devourer fleet was gone, except for 3 ships captured intact. We learned everything, Dr. Lim Dasom said from her corner. She had files open, decades of research displayed in scrolling data. Their biology, their technology, their psychology, such as it was. They're remarkably simple creatures. Organic machines designed to consume and replicate. So we made them complex, added Dr. Moon Ji-woo. Gave them new instincts. Like fear. The display showed laboratory footage. A captured devourer drone, secured behind fields that bent space itself. Human scientists introducing new compounds, rewriting genetic codes, adding concepts the creatures had never possessed. Fear was just the beginning, Dasom explained. We gave them pattern recognition, memory of pain, anticipation of death. We turned them from mindless consumers into creatures that could suffer. That's horrible, Cathara said before she could stop herself. Yes, agreed President Lee calmly. It was, but it was also necessary. Mindless creatures can't be deterred. Fearful ones can. We needed them to run, so we gave them reason to. And then, Cathara asked, though she suspected the answer. Then we hunted them, General Yoon said simply. The display showed engagement after engagement, human fleets appearing throughout the galaxy, always where devourers gathered, never near inhabited worlds, never where other civilizations might see. Silent, efficient extermination. We tested every weapon, Ye-jun explained. Reality bombs that deleted matter from existence. Dimension shears that cut through anything. Biological weapons that turned them against each other. Psychological viruses that drove them mad. The successful weapons we kept, Dong-hyun added. The failures we discarded. And always we let some escape. To spread the fear. To tell others of their kind that something hunted them now. The map showed the pattern clearly. Over decades, the devourers had been pushed, herded, driven from their usual hunting grounds. They fled from empty systems where human fleets might hide. They avoided trade routes where sensors might detect approaching death. They ran toward the only area that seemed safe, the young system with the harmless planet that had barely achieved spaceflight. Earth. You turned our world into bait, Cathara realized. The greatest bait in galactic history, President Lee confirmed. Every devourer in this sector is coming here. They think they're escaping their hunters. They believe they've found easy prey. How many? Carthera asked, though she feared the answer. All of them, Dong-hyun said with satisfaction. Every hive, every fleet, every last devourer in 10,000 light-years. Our conservative estimate is 12 million ships. Kithera's glow flickered to near black. 12 million devourer ships could strip 100 worlds bare. They could consume entire civilizations. They were extinction made manifest. And you want them to come here? We've prepared something special, Dr. Ryu Min-jun said, speaking up for the first time. His fingers never stopped moving across his displays, monitoring systems Kithara couldn't understand. A weapon we've been developing for 30 years. We call it the Void Song. I don't understand. The Devourers communicate through bioquantum entanglement, Jiwoo explained. Every drone, every ship, every hive connected in a vast network. It's what makes them so effective. Perfect coordination across any distance. It's also their weakness, Min-jun added. A network that connects everything can be used to destroy everything. One signal, transmitted through their own communication system, rewriting every devourer at the quantum level. You're going to kill them all at once? Not kill, Dasam corrected. Unmake, delete them from reality. Every devourer everywhere gone in an instant. The ultimate genocide delivered through their own biology. The room fell silent. Kythera processed what she was hearing. Not just victory over the devourers, but complete extermination. The humans had turned the galaxy's greatest threat into a solved problem. Why tell me this? She asked finally. Why reveal your capabilities? Because after the devourers are gone, President Lee said carefully, the galaxy will need to know that Earth is not a threat to peaceful civilizations. We protect, we don't conquer. Unless provoked, General Yoon added quietly. Unless provoked, Lee agreed, which is why we want the Velthari as allies. You're respected, trusted. When you tell others that Earth is safe, they'll believe you. And if I refuse? The humans exchanged glances. Not threatening, just sad. Then you leave, Lee said. We execute our plan, save the galaxy from the devourers, and hope others understand our intentions. But it would be easier with friends. Kithera looked around the room. These humans had spent centuries preparing for threats, developing weapons that defied understanding, turning their world into a fortress. They could have conquered the galaxy a dozen times over. Instead, they had protected it, quietly, secretly asking for nothing in return. Show me more, she said finally. Show me everything. If the Velthari Empire is to be your ally, I need to know what we're allying with. The displays came alive with new data. Weapons that could crack planets, ships that existed partially in other dimensions, viruses that rewrote the laws of physics. The true extent of human power, hidden for so long, finally revealed. And in 3 months, when 12 million devourers descended on Earth expecting easy prey, the galaxy would learn the truth. Humanity didn't need protection. Humanity was the protection. The monsters were coming home. They just didn't know it was humanity's home now, and had been for longer than anyone imagined. The greatest trap in galactic history was about to spring, and when it did, everything would change. The devourers thought they were fleeing from death. They were actually running straight into it. The sky above Seoul changed forever on a Tuesday morning. People stopped in the streets, their coffee cups forgotten in their hands. Children pressed their faces against school windows. Office workers abandoned their computers to crowd onto balconies. A ship made of crystal appeared above the city. It was huge, bigger than any building, and it caught the sunlight like a giant diamond. Colors danced across its surface, reds, blues, greens, painting rainbows on the glass towers below. Captain Park Jae-won stood in the UN Defense Command Center, watching 20 screens at once. Each showed the ship from a different angle. His team worked quietly around him, their fingers flying over keyboards. Nobody panicked. They had trained for this day. Sir, the ship is sending a signal, Lieutenant Kim Soo-jin said. She was young but sharp, one of the best in the command center. They're using our languages. All of them. Put it through, Jae-won ordered. The screens flickered. A face appeared, not human but beautiful in its own way. The being had skin that glowed softly, like moonlight on water. Its eyes were large and kind, holding knowledge that seemed ancient. People of Earth, the being said, Its voice was musical, speaking Korean, then switching to English, then Mandarin, cycling through languages as if they were all equally easy. I am Ambassador Kythera of the Valthari Empire. We come in peace. Around the world, every phone, television, and computer showed the same message. In New York, London, Tokyo, and Cairo, people watched as humanity met its first visitors from the stars. We bring important news, Kythera continued. A great danger approaches your solar system. They are called the Devourers. They travel from star to star, eating worlds, leaving nothing behind but empty rock. Many civilizations have fallen to them. In the command center, Jaewon's team exchanged glances. Soo-jin pulled up data on her screen, her eyebrows rising as she read. But do not fear, the alien ambassador said, spreading its hands in what seemed to be a calming gesture. The Valthari Empire has protected many worlds. We have great ships and powerful weapons. We pledge to defend Earth from the Devourers. You are not alone in the universe anymore. The transmission ended. Around the world, people began to react. Some celebrated in the streets. Others prayed in churches, temples, and mosques. Scientists rushed to their laboratories. Politicians called emergency meetings. But in the command center, there was only calm efficiency. Analysis? Jaewon asked. Their ship is impressive, Soo-jin reported, studying her screens. Energy output equal to a small moon. Advanced shields. Weapons we can detect but not fully understand. She paused, then looked up at her captain. Should I run the comparison? Which one? Jaewon asked, though his small smile suggested he already knew. Scenario 7 Alpha. The one where we… Yes, Lieutenant. Run it. Soo-jin's fingers danced over her keyboard. New data appeared on the screens. Numbers, charts, diagrams. She studied them for a moment, then nodded. It's as we thought, sir. They're about 200 years behind us, maybe 250. Jaewon turned to face his team. 20 men and women, the best Earth had to offer. They had been preparing for this moment their entire careers. Some had been preparing their entire lives. Contact President Lee, he ordered. Tell her first contact has been made. The Valthari want to protect us. His smile widened slightly. Ask her if she wants to use Response Plan 3 or Plan 5. Plan 5 is the one where we show them the moon bases, right? Asked Captain Bae Jinwoo from his station. Among other things, Jaewon confirmed. Outside, the crystal ship hung in the sky like a promise. Or maybe a threat. It was beautiful and alien and powerful. The Valthari had traveled between stars to warn Earth about danger. They offered protection with their advanced technology and mighty fleet. They had no idea what they were really dealing with. Sir, another officer called out. The Valthari are requesting permission to land. They want to meet with world leaders. Of course they do, Jaewon murmured. He thought about the secrets hidden beneath Earth's surface, in its oceans, on the dark side of the moon. He thought about the projects no civilian knew about, the ships no alien had detected, the weapons that could reshape reality itself. Grant them permission, he said finally. Suggest the UN building in New York, full diplomatic courtesies. Should we inform them about… Soo-jin started. No, Jaewon cut her off gently. Let them think they're protecting us. For now. The team worked in smooth coordination, sending messages, preparing protocols, activating systems that had waited decades for this moment. Earth's true defenses stirred to life, invisible and undetected. Satellites that looked like space junk adjusted their positions. Deep beneath the ocean, facilities that officially didn't exist went to high alert. Sir, Soo-jin said quietly, so only Jaewon could hear. Do you think they suspect? Jaewon watched the alien ship on the screen. It truly was beautiful, a marvel of alien engineering. The Valthari had built something incredible. They had mastered faster-than-light travel, created energy shields, developed weapons that could destroy asteroids. No, he said, they don't suspect. How could they? Who would believe that the quiet little planet that just discovered radio waves a century ago could be… He trailed off. Could be what we really are, Soo-jin finished. Exactly. The crystal ship began to descend, moving slowly and carefully toward New York. Around the world, humanity watched. Most felt fear, wonder, excitement. They believed they were witnessing the most important moment in human history. The day they learned they weren't alone. The day advanced aliens came to protect them from cosmic horror. They were right about it being important. They were wrong about everything else. In hidden facilities across Earth and beyond, Men and women like Jae-won and Soo-jin prepared for the next phase. They had waited so long, stayed hidden so carefully. Now the universe had come to them, Lieutenant, Jae-won said as he headed for the door. Begin preparations for the revelation protocol. Start small, just enough to impress them without scaring them too badly. Level 2 revelations? Let's start with Level 1. Show them we're not completely helpless. We can work up from there. Soo-jin nodded, already typing commands. And the Devourers, sir? Should we tell them about Kepler 442? Jae-won paused at the door. Kepler 442, where humanity's Black Ops fleet had encountered a Devourer scout group 50 years ago, where they had learned these galactic terrors weren't so terrible after all, where they had captured specimens that Earth scientists had studied, improved upon, and incorporated into their own designs. Not yet, he decided. Let them think they're saving us from the big bad aliens. It'll make the truth more impactful when they learn it. He left the command center, heading for the meeting that would begin humanity's official entry into galactic civilization. Behind him, his team continued their work, professional and calm. They were the guardians of Earth's greatest secret, that the planet everyone thought needed protection was actually the most dangerous world in the galaxy. The Valthari had come to save Earth from monsters. They were about to learn that Earth was where monsters came to die. 3 days had passed since the crystal ship appeared. The world had changed, but not in the way most people thought. While crowds gathered outside the UN building and news channels ran endless coverage, the real meetings happened in rooms without windows. The UN Assembly Hall had been transformed for the Valthari demonstration. Extra seats filled every space. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists from every nation sat shoulder to shoulder. At the front, Ambassador Kythera stood with 2 other Valthari, their glowing forms casting soft light across the room. President Lee Hyo-jin of South Korea sat in the front row. Beside her, General Choi Tae-jun leaned back in his chair, completely relaxed. They had spoken for hours the night before, reviewing files most people didn't know existed. Now they waited to see what the aliens thought was impressive. Honored leaders of Earth, Kythera began, her musical voice filling the hall. We thank you for welcoming us. Today we will show you the danger you face and how we can protect you. The lights dimmed. A hologram filled the space above them, so real that some people reached out to touch it. Stars appeared, beautiful and cold. Then something moved between them. Dark shapes twisted and wrong like mechanical insects mixed with nightmares. The Devourers, Kythera said simply. They have no home. They travel between stars, consuming everything. When they find a world, they strip it bare. The atmosphere, the oceans, the core, they take it all. The hologram showed a planet blue and green like Earth. The Devourers fell upon it like locusts. Within minutes, nothing remained but gray rock. Several people in the audience gasped. They have destroyed thousands of worlds, Kythera continued. The Valthari have fought them for centuries. Sometimes we win. Often we can only evacuate what people we can before their world dies. General Choi whispered something to President Lee. She pressed her lips together, trying not to smile. He had said, their special effects are very good. Almost as good as our training simulations from 30 years ago. But Earth will be different, Kythera said, her voice growing stronger. We pledge our protection, observe. The hologram changed. Now it showed the Valthari fleet, 1,000 ships of crystal and light. They were beautiful, each one unique, like snowflakes made of starlight. Weapons fired from them, beams of energy that could split asteroids. Shields flared around them, turning away attacks that would shatter mountains. Each ship can destroy a small moon, Kythera explained with pride. Our shields can withstand impacts that would crack continents. Our weapons use energies your science has not yet discovered. With our fleet protecting Earth, the Devourers will not dare approach. The demonstration continued. Battle footage, weapon specifications, shield ratings. The Valthari were clearly proud of their technology. And why not? By the standards of most of the galaxy, they were incredibly advanced. President Lee stood up when Kythera paused. The alien ambassador turned to her, skin flickering with curiosity. Ambassador, Lee said, her voice carrying easily through the hall. This is very impressive. We are grateful for your offer of protection. You are most welcome, Kythera replied. We understand this must be overwhelming. Your world has only recently achieved spaceflight. To face such danger so soon, yes, about that. Lee interrupted gently. We appreciate your concern, but perhaps you would like to see something? A small demonstration of our own. Murmurs ran through the assembled leaders. Most looked confused. What could Earth possibly show these advanced aliens? Kithara's glow shifted, showing curiosity. Of course, President Lee. We would be honored to see what Earth has achieved. Lee nodded to someone off to the side. The hologram shifted, controlled now by human systems. The moon appeared gray and cratered, exactly as everyone knew it. Our moon, Lee said conversationally. You've probably scanned it. Noticed the old Apollo landing sites, perhaps some of our newer research stations. Yes, Kithara confirmed. We were pleased to see you had returned to lunar exploration. Did you notice anything else? The Valthari ambassador paused. We detected some mineral mining operations. Very impressive for your current technology level. Look closer. The hologram zoomed in on a particular crater. For a moment, nothing seemed unusual. Then the surface began to move. What looked like natural rock formations split apart. Massive doors, hidden for who knew how long, slid open. Each door was kilometers wide. Ships emerged. Not 1,000 like the Valthari fleet. Not 10,000. Millions. They poured from the moon's hidden bases like water from a dam. Each ship was angular, practical, clearly built for war rather than beauty. They moved in perfect formation, a dance of metal and purpose that filled the space around the moon. The room had gone completely silent. Even breathing seemed too loud. This is our lunar fleet, President Lee said calmly. Just the lunar fleet. Would you like to see what we keep in the asteroid belt? Kithara's glow flickered rapidly, the equivalent of shocked blinking. This is not possible. Your radio emissions, your industrial base, your observed technology. General Choi stood up beside President Lee. Were carefully managed to give the impression we wanted to give. We've been watching the galaxy for quite some time, Ambassador. We thought it best to appear harmless. The hologram changed again. The asteroid belt appeared. Thousands of rocks tumbling through space. Then, like the moon, they began to reveal their secrets. What looked like asteroids were ships. What seemed like empty space shimmered with cloaked stations. The entire belt was a fortress, a defensive line that could stop fleets 100 times larger than the Valtharis. How? Kithara's voice had lost its musical quality. How long have you been hiding this? About 200 years, Lee answered. Give or take a decade. The assembled Earth leaders watched the aliens process this information. Most of the humans looked smug, though a few seemed as surprised as the Valthari. Not everyone had known the full truth. But your history, one of the other Valthari said. We studied it. World wars with chemical weapons and nuclear bombs. You nearly destroyed yourselves several times. Yes, General Choi agreed. Those wars were real. They taught us important lessons. They showed us what happens when power is revealed too early, when nations fight over resources. He smiled coldly. So we unified in secret. The public wars ended, but the real work began, building, preparing, waiting. Waiting for what? Kithara asked. For the universe to find us, Lee answered. We knew it would happen eventually. We detected your civilization centuries ago. The Devourers, too. We watched, we learned, and we prepared. The hologram changed once more. Now it showed Earth itself, blue and beautiful. But as they watched, defensive systems revealed themselves. Satellites that had pretended to be communication relays showed their true purpose. Ocean trenches opened to reveal weapons that bent space itself. Mountains split apart to show energy cannons that could punch through planets. Every major nation contributed, Lee explained. Every military, every scientist who could be trusted. We hid it from our own people to hide it from you. From everyone. We turned our world into a fortress while pretending to be helpless. Kithara and her companions stood very still. Around them, Earth's leaders watched with expressions ranging from pride to amusement. They had kept this secret for generations, and now, finally, they could show it. Your protection is appreciated, President Lee said, bowing slightly to the Valthari. But as you can see, we have made our own preparations. The Devourers are coming, you say? Let them come. Earth is ready. The demonstration ended. The lights came back up. In the silence that followed, everyone could hear the truth that had just been revealed. Earth didn't need protection. Earth was the protection, and somewhere out in the dark between stars, the Devourers rushed toward what they thought was an easy target, having no idea they were flying into the greatest trap in galactic history.